Let me tell you something that's going to make your blood boil. WWE just allowed Bronson Reed to potentially end LA Knight's career on live television, and they are promoting it like it's entertainment. The 8th of December 2025 will go down as the night WWE crossed a line they can never uncross. Because what happened to LA Knight wasn't wrestling, it was attempted murder broadcast to millions of people around the world. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not exaggerating 4 clicks. What Bronson Reed did to LA Knight on Monday Night Raw was the most dangerous, reckless, and downright disgusting display of violence we've seen in modern WWE. And if you think this is just another hardcore spot, you haven't been paying attention to what's really going on here. The megastar, the man who clawed his way from the bottom to become one of WWE's most beloved superstars, was launched onto a vehicle like a crash test dummy, his body crumpled against steel and glass, his spine compressed against unforgiving metal. And somewhere in WWE headquarters, executives are counting their social media impressions while LA Knight is probably getting CT scans. This is the reality of what we witnessed. And before you run to the comments to tell me it's fake or they know what they are doing, let me ask you this: at what point does fake become too real? At what point does entertainment become endangerment? Because I'm watching the replay right now, and I can't tell the difference anymore. Quick question for the Wrestling Zone faithful: do you think WWE went too far with this spot, or is this exactly what modern wrestling needs to compete? Drop your honest thoughts below because I want to know where you draw the line. Now, let me take you back to how we got here, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. This was the culmination of weeks of brutal escalation between two men who've been trying to destroy each other since this feud kicked off. Bronson Reed has been on an absolute rampage through WWE's roster. The man they call Colossal hasn't just been winning matches, he's been demolishing opponents. His Tsunami splash has become the most feared finishing move in WWE, and for good reason. When a 330-pound monster launches himself from the top rope and crashes down on your chest, ribs, and internal organs, you don't just sell the move. You question your life choices. But LA Knight, the megastar, doesn't back down from anyone. That's what made him a star in the first place. While other wrestlers were playing it safe and following the corporate playbook, Knight was cutting promos that actually meant something. He was connecting with fans on a level WWE hadn't seen in years. He brought back that unpredictable energy, that feeling that anything could happen when he grabbed a microphone. So when these two titans collided, we all knew it was going to be violent. We expected hard-hitting action. We anticipated both men pushing their limits. What we didn't expect was for WWE to turn Monday Night Raw into a snuff film. The segment started innocently enough. Well, as innocent as anything involving Bronson Reed can be. LA Knight was in the parking lot, cutting a promo directly to the camera. He was talking about how he's not afraid of Reed, how he's faced bigger and badder opponents, how the megastar always rises to the occasion. Classic Knight confidence that's made him one of the most quotable wrestlers on the roster. Then Reed appeared, and you could feel the temperature drop. The tension was immediate. Reed wasn't playing games. He wasn't there to trade verbal barbs or set up a future match. The look in his eyes told you everything you needed to know. Someone was leaving that parking lot on a stretcher. They started brawling immediately. Fists flying, bodies crashing against cars, the raw unscripted feeling of a genuine fight breaking out. This wasn't choreographed chain wrestling in a ring. This was two men trying to hurt each other in the most realistic way possible. Knight got some offense in, don't get me wrong. He's a fighter, and he wasn't going down without a battle. He slammed Reed against a concrete pillar. He grabbed whatever weapons he could find, toolboxes, car doors, anything within reach. The megastar was fighting for his life, and he knew it. But Bronson Reed is a different breed of monster. Every time Knight seemed to get momentum, Reed would absorb the punishment and come back with something even more devastating. A headbutt that would knock out a normal human being. A powerbomb on the concrete that made everyone watching wince. Reed wasn't just trying to win, he was trying to send a message written in LA Knight's blood. Then came the moment that everyone's talking about. The moment that's going to be replayed in video packages for years to come. The moment that might define both of these men's careers forever. Reed dragged Knight, who was barely conscious at this point, and positioned him on top of an SUV. Not beside it, not against it, on top of it. Knight was laid out on the hood and roof of this vehicle, and anyone with half a brain knew what was coming next. Here's a trivia question for the longtime fans. Can you name another time in WWE history where a tsunami or splash was performed onto a vehicle? First correct answer in the comments gets a shout out in the next video. Bronson Reed climbed onto an elevated platform. The camera angle made him look even more massive than usual, a 330-pound wrecking ball about to drop from the sky. The crowd in the arena was losing their minds. Some were cheering, caught up in the moment. Others were screaming for someone, anyone, to stop what was about to happen. And then Reed jumped. The Tsunami, his entire body weight, launched through the air, crashing down onto LA Knight with the SUV underneath them. The sound was sickening. Metal crunching. Glass potentially shattering. Knight's body absorbing an impact that the human spine was never designed to withstand. The substructure buckled under the combined weight and force. The crowd went silent for a split second. That weird moment where thousands of people collectively hold their breath because they just witnessed something they can't process. Then the cheers erupted. Then the holy S*** chant started. Then social media exploded. But here's what nobody's talking about in all the chaos and excitement. LA Knight didn't move. After Reed rolled off the vehicle, Knight just laid there, motionless, not selling, not playing to the cameras, actually not moving. And you could see the concern on the faces of the officials who immediately rushed to the scene. This is where wrestling gets uncomfortable. This is where the line between work and shoot becomes so blurred that even the most knowledgeable fans can't tell what's real anymore. Was Knight legitimately injured? Was this all part of the show? Does it even matter when the execution is that dangerous? WWE wants us to believe that every precaution was taken. They'll tell you that stunt coordinators were involved, that the SUV was specially prepared, that both men are trained professionals who knew exactly what they were doing. And maybe that's all true, but it doesn't change the fact that we watched a human being get crushed against a vehicle on live television. Let's talk about the bigger picture here, because this isn't just about one spot. This is about where WWE is heading as a company and what they are willing to do to grab headlines. We're in an era where wrestling is competing with everything. UFC brings real combat sports violence. Streaming services offer unlimited entertainment options. Social media has reduced attention spans to seconds. So how does WWE compete? How do they make sure people tune in and stay tuned in? They escalate. Remember when a simple chair shot was considered extreme? Now we've got superstars being thrown off structures, through tables, onto cars, and the audience barely reacts unless it's something they've never seen before. WWE has conditioned us to expect more, demand more, accept more violence as the price of entertainment. And that's dangerous, not just physically for the performers, but culturally for all of us consuming this content. Controversial question incoming: is WWE creating a generation of fans who won't be satisfied unless they see real injuries? Are we becoming disincentivized to violence because we're watching it every Monday night? Sound off in the comments, and be honest with yourself when you answer. Bronson Reed has become WWE's designated destroyer, and I get why. The man is incredible at what he does. His agility for his size is unmatched. His presence is intimidating. His Tsunami has become one of the most protected finishers in wrestling. He's everything WWE wants in a monster heel. But at what cost? How many bodies does Reed have to pile up before WWE says enough is enough? Seth Rollins has been on the receiving end of multiple tsunamis. Multiple superstars have been written off television because of Reed's attacks. And now LA Knight might be the latest casualty. The character work is brilliant, don't misunderstand me. Reed plays his role perfectly. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't show remorse. He's a force of nature that destroys everything in his path. That's compelling television. That's what makes people invest in his matches. But the execution, literally, is where things get murky. Because when you're performing moves that could legitimately end careers, you're not just playing a character anymore. You're making real decisions that have real consequences. LA Knight, meanwhile, has become WWE's most resilient babyface. He takes beatings that would retire lesser men and keeps coming back for more. His ability to connect with the audience is unmatched in the current roster. When he talks, people listen. When he fights, people believe. That connection is exactly why this angle is so effective and so dangerous. We care about LA Knight. We're invested in his success. We want to see him overcome the odds and stand tall. So when Reed destroys him in such a visceral way, it hits different than if this happened to a mid-card talent nobody cares about. WWE knows this. They are exploiting our emotional investment to create must-see television. And it's working. The segment is trending worldwide. Wrestling media outlets are losing their minds. YouTube is flooded with reaction videos. Mission accomplished from a business perspective. But should mission accomplished come at the cost of someone's well-being? Let me take you through the aftermath of the attack because it's just as important as the spot itself. Medical personnel immediately attended to LA Knight. The camera stayed on him longer than they usually do for these situations, which tells you WWE wanted to emphasize the severity. Knight was eventually helped to his feet, but he looked legitimately shaken. Whether that was brilliant selling or genuine trauma, I honestly can't tell you. Bronson Reed stood over the carnage with that signature emotionless expression that makes him so terrifying. He didn't celebrate. He didn't cut a promo. He simply looked at what he'd done and walked away like it was just another day at the office. That cold-blooded reaction might have been the most disturbing part of the entire segment. The announce team sold it like the apocalypse. Michael Cole was losing his mind. Corey Graves was questioning whether they should have stopped the attack. Everyone played their roles perfectly to make this feel like the most significant thing that's ever happened on Monday Night Raw. And you know what? For that moment, it was significant. It felt important. It felt like something that would have lasting consequences. Whether those consequences actually materialize or if Knight shows up next week ready to go is a different conversation. Pop quiz for the Wrestling Zone community. How long do you think WWE will keep LA Knight off TV after this attack? 1 week? 1 month? Will he be back next Monday like nothing happened? Give me your predictions below. Let's address the elephant in the room that nobody in wrestling wants to talk about openly: the long-term effects of these stunts on the human body. Professional wrestlers are incredible athletes who train their entire lives to take bumps safely. They know how to fall, how to protect themselves, how to make devastating moves look real while minimizing actual damage. But there's a limit to what the human body can withstand, and stunts like the SUV Tsunami push right up against that limit. We've seen too many legendary wrestlers struggle with mobility issues, chronic pain, and serious health problems later in life because of the accumulated damage from their careers. We've lost too many performers way too young because their bodies simply couldn't recover from years of abuse. And every time WWE pushes the envelope with stunts like this, they are gambling with someone's future. They are betting that the short-term pop and ratings boost is worth the long-term risk to their talent's health and longevity. Is it worth it? That's not for me to decide. That's between WWE, their performers, and their consciences. But it's a conversation we need to have as fans because our viewership directly contributes to these decisions being made. If we didn't watch, if we didn't share clips, if we didn't drive up engagement every time something extreme happens, WWE wouldn't keep escalating. We're part of this ecosystem whether we want to admit it or not. Now, let's talk about what this means for the feud moving forward, because this can't be the end. You don't do something this extreme without a massive payoff planned. LA Knight is going to want revenge. When he returns, and he will return because the megastar doesn't stay down, he's going to be out for blood. This feud has officially transcended normal wrestling rivalry. This is personal. This is about survival. This is about proving that Bronson Reed can be beaten despite everything we've seen. The eventual match between these two is going to be absolute chaos. WWE has set the bar impossibly high with this parking lot attack. How do you top a Tsunami onto an SUV? What could possibly happen in their match that feels like an appropriate escalation? My guess? We're heading towards some kind of no-holds-barred or last-man-standing match at a major premium live event. Maybe Royal Rumble. Maybe even Elimination Chamber. Somewhere with a massive audience where WWE can justify going all out. The storytelling potential is incredible. Knight fighting from underneath, battling through the trauma of what Reed did to him. Reed continuing his path of destruction, convinced he's unstoppable. The clash of personality types, the contrast in styles, the genuine animosity that's been built through weeks of brutality. This could main event a major show if WWE books it correctly. Both men have the charisma and in-ring ability to deliver. The story practically writes itself at this point. But, and this is a big but, WWE has to be careful not to diminish what happened. If Knight shows up next week completely fine, cracking jokes and ready to go, this whole angle falls apart. The attack needs to mean something. There need to be consequences. Knight needs to show vulnerability and struggle before his inevitable comeback. That's how you create compelling babyface storytelling. That's how you make the audience invest even deeper in a character's journey. If WWE treats this like just another segment in a long line of segments, they are wasting everyone's time. Booking question for the fantasy bookers out there: how would you book the payoff to this feud? What kind of match? What stipulation? Who wins? Give me your best booking scenario in the comments. Let's examine Bronson Reed's trajectory in WWE because his rise has been fascinating to watch. Reed came up through NXT where he was always presented as a top talent but never quite reached the main event level. He had great matches, showed incredible athleticism for his size, and built a solid foundation. But something was missing. That final piece that would take him from good to great. His main roster call-up initially seemed like it might follow the same pattern. He'd show up, have some matches, maybe float around the mid-card for a while before disappearing like so many NXT call-ups before him. WWE has a terrible track record with former NXT talent, after all, but something clicked. Whether it was a change in presentation, better creative direction, or Reed himself figuring out exactly who he needed to be, everything came together. The Tsunami became protected. His matches became must-see. His character became legitimately threatening. Now he's in high-profile feuds with established stars like LA Knight. He's featured prominently on Monday Night Raw. He's part of the conversation when people talk about WWE's top heels. That's a massive leap in a relatively short amount of time. The SUV spot is Reed cementing his status as WWE's go-to monster. It's his statement that he belongs in the main event picture. It's proof that he's willing to do whatever it takes to stand out in an incredibly crowded roster. And it's working. People are talking about Bronson Reed. Casual fans know who he is now. He's transcended being that big guy from NXT and become a legitimate star in his own right. LA Knight's journey is equally compelling but from the opposite direction. Knight spent years grinding through the independent scene, paying his dues, perfecting his craft. He had runs in various promotions, including NXT where he initially struggled to find his voice. Then something magical happened. Knight figured out exactly who he was supposed to be. The megastar was born. The promos became electric. The connection with fans became undeniable. He became one of those rare performers who feels completely authentic even though he's playing a character. His main roster run has been a masterclass in getting over organically. WWE didn't heavily push Knight from day one. Fans demanded him. They chanted his catchphrases. They bought his merchandise. They forced WWE to recognize what they had. That grassroots support makes Knight special. In an era where so much of WWE feels carefully manufactured and focus grouped to death, Knight feels real. He feels like he could exist outside the WWE bubble and still be successful because his charisma isn't dependent on corporate branding. So when Reed attacks Knight the way he did, it's not just a heel attacking a babyface. It's an establishment destroyer trying to eliminate someone who represents organic fan support. It's a clash of everything we love about modern wrestling, the spectacle and violence of Reed versus the authenticity and connection of Knight. Character study question: who do you relate to more as a fan? Bronson Reed's ruthless ambition or LA Knight's organic rise through fan support? This isn't about who you think will win, but who resonates with your personal story. Drop your answer below. Let me address some of the counter-arguments I know are flooding through your mind right now. It's wrestling, these spots happen all the time. Why are you being so sensitive? Fair point. Wrestling has always pushed boundaries. Mick Foley was thrown off Hell in a Cell. Jeff Hardy jumped off ladders onto tables. The Attitude Era was built on extreme violence that makes modern WWE look tame by comparison. But context matters. Those Attitude Era spots happened in a different time with different expectations.